Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to Spoiler Warning featuring myself, Tom Colohue. There is quite a lot to discuss today. We're going to be going through all of our Night 2 predictions for the draft, as well as focusing on a new writer that has been hired for Bray Wyatt, how we got here and how this will affect the character, a little something on Carmella's pregnancy, Omos's free agency, the separation between Cody and Roman, congratulations for another member of the now Raw roster, the CM Punk World Tour actively taking place, and then a little something about what you can expect tomorrow, and in fact a little surprise that you may quite enjoy about August. So we'll be diving into all of that. Of course, as always, we'll also be answering your questions as well, so be sure to get them in. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's already in the chat. I've been live for all of a minute and there's already 37 people here, which is quite incredible. Thank you very much for hitting like. We've already got 20 of those as well. Eric has asked the first question saying, are you streaming for Raw? I've already answered in the chat, but I do want to answer particularly. My work schedule starting tomorrow is a 7:30 start, so we're waking up at 7 o'clock. It's going to be very hectic. I'll be essentially working from 7 till 5, in depth and intense the entire time. I can't afford to be going to sleep at about 5 and waking up at 7. I will not be streaming Raw tonight, but you do still have spoiler warning. So thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, Venom. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Lucha Libre Memes. Thank you, Humperdew. Already saying hi in the chat. On the Twitch side, quite a few people as well. Spider Boss, Wiggly, Sean, and of course more from Spider Boss. So we're going to be jumping into in detail as much as I can. I will start with a few questions and then we'll be getting to Bray Wyatt and a new writer. So, first few questions. Spider-Boss says, do you see the Usos remaining on SmackDown? Yes. Is Alexa Bliss a free agent? No. Bailey says hello. Hello, Bailey. And Ghost says hello, Tom and chat. Hope everyone is doing well. Welcome, Ghost. On the YouTube side, BDC says, I just wanted to say hi to everyone and that I hope you are all having a great start to the week. Thank you, BDC. It's very nice to say. Matthew Johnson says, afternoon, evening, Tom and everyone in the chat. Hope you're all having a good Monday. And Richard Smith says, hello, Tom, and all. Hope you're doing well. Khalid is here saying, hello, mate. Joe says, of course we are, Tom. We are the best and we appreciate all the videos you have. Thank you very, very much. FDR says, what's new with Colohue? I like that phrase. Then drop some tables. There will be a little bit of something that people may enjoy and people have been asking for a while, coming a bit closer to the end of the show. Callie says, evening, Tom. Evening. Razar says, hello, Tom. How are you? Doing very well, thank you, Razar. Ed says, hey. Welcome, everybody. Vijit says, how are you? And I look forward to the show. Always nice to know. Richard says, anyone surprised that both women's champions from NXT got drafted? I think quite a few people were surprised to see that particular one happen. Certainly will impact the long-term longevity of NXT. Richard says, Edge versus Finn Balor will take place at WWE Backlash. Will it? Why do you think that? We don't even know which side Finn Balor's going to be on. Marcel says, hi, Tom. How are you? Doing very well, thank you, Marcel. Noob says, hello, Tom. How are you doing today? What are your thoughts on the Night 1 drafts? Some of them I expected. Bianca Belair, for example. Cody Rhodes, however, I was not expecting to be split up from Roman. The fact that the Street Profits were chosen above Imperium is very good for the Street Profits. Not that great for Imperium. Very, very confusing for Imperium. So, hit and miss at times. Peter Englefield is here saying, you know I'm bringing the tables. You rock, Tom. Thank you very much. And John Dallow says, hello, Tom. Michael is here, says, hi, Tom. James Stewart says, evening, Tom. Cody to win Money in the Bank and set his sights back on Roman. That is certainly a route to doing so. Sean says, Boozer666 put out a tweet saying Alexa Bliss is wanted for the Saudi show and she'll be back after Backlash. Should we trust Boozer? Well, here's the thing. Never heard of this guy. And from all I can tell, it's a random person on Twitter. Also, they're saying she'll be back after Backlash. You know what's after Backlash? Every single day for the rest of time. So, a bit of an open tweet. Khalid says, I can't wait to see another legend on the draft tonight. Trish Stratus seems like one of the biggest legends in that particular category. Mark says, hey, hope you're all well and hope Tom had a great weekend. Looking forward to the draft tonight and drop some tables as well. Spider-Boss says, watch Jey Uso's face after he lost on SmackDown was priceless. Roman's kicking out the Usos from the bloodline. Well, Roman needs to be there in order for that to happen. Peter says, we're getting a tune from the Colohue at the end then? You mean like it's a Clash at the Castle? Not so. Joey says, hey Tom, do you know who this new writer is for Bray? That will be our first piece of news just as soon as I've caught up. Carmelina says, do you believe that the Usos will be drafted to Raw? No. Khalid says, yes, Tom has another Bray Wyatt news. Edward Brooks says, hey Tom, hope all is well. Do you think they move Damage Control's unit to continue a potential split storyline or keep them together for longer? The original plan would have seen them split up already, and it was cancelled during the Raw After Mania show. So, it really does depend on who's got involved and how. Lucha Libre Meme says, I appreciate your work, Tom. You could easily give us a bunch of clickbait over the weekend, but you don't. You give us a show when you have news to share, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you kindly, mate. Thank you kindly. You'll be aware that with the shorts, for example, I'll report what other people are saying, what other news has come out. But most of my own news is only available here at Spoiler Warning because I want to be very careful with it. I want to make sure that people appreciate the work I do. And the fact is, so many of you have been so generous, so grateful, and so appreciative, and even just so positive. It's really made a big difference to my overall life. So I want to say a massive thank you to all of you. Rozar says, are they doing another title swap with Rhea and Bianca? Was there a reason for this? More on that shortly. Joey says, how many NXT wrestlers do you expect to get called up tonight? About as many as did on Saturday. Austin says, does Braun get drafted tonight? Maybe. My full predictions will be out shortly. I will be announcing them during this show. Alyssa says, probably The Rock showing up. Rock will not show up. Daniel says, which promotion will CM Punk turn up to next on the Phil Brooks Tour? CM Punk World Tour is in fact one of our news items. Raymond says, hello Tom and everyone in the chat. Looking forward to night 2 of the draft. Wiggly says, who is Goldberg being drafted to? He's not. Nobody wants him. Hogan says, I know you expected Bianca to go to SmackDown pre-Mania, but I'm assuming part of that had to do with the expectation that Bianca would lose at Mania. What made you stick with it after Mania? Essentially, it may be because I actually got that before the Mania situation, and that might be why I expected her to lose. Maybe that's something I could do one of those members only videos on. Ghost says, is there a plan for a title swap? More on that shortly as regards the predictions that I've got. Spider-Boss says, I see Trish staying on Raw for her rivalry with Becky. Zane Charles says, did you see the videos of Trinity aka Naomi making her impact in Impact Wrestling? Not yet, no. Noob says, I'm confused on the 2 drafts. First Bianca as Raw Women's Champion and Damage Control together. Carl says, good day Tom, thanks for all you do. Thank you very much, Carl, appreciate that. Brad Becker says, within WWE, Alexa is not getting drafted. She is considered a WWE free agent. She is not, at this point, considered a WWE free agent. There is a very specific category that is listed as free agent, and Alexa Bliss is not in that category. Joey says, how do they plan on keeping the Raw Women's title on Raw if Bianca is moving to SmackDown? More on that shortly. Carl says, I need to learn and do better with YouTube Shorts and such. Well, to be fair, mate, one of the easiest things you can do when it comes to shorts is when you're hosting a show and something happens and you all laugh, just note down the time. Just note down the time, because there's a short for you. FDR says, do you think WWE should rename the SmackDown and Raw Women's Champions, considering the idea of swapping of the titles from the draft is pretty annoying? More on that shortly. I can tell what people are most interested in, and it's nice because I've got an answer for you. Ed says, it was fun seeing Andrew Zarian come out to fix the false reports on his story about Roman and record books. Yeah, he had a mission, Andrew Zarian, over the last few days, because that report got really, really warped and taken out of context. And it's funny, because the amount of times reports that I've made have been warped and taken out of context, and then people tell me, no, you reported it. I absolutely did not. Mustafa, how are you doing? So, hi Tom. I appreciate also we are the most well-informed group out there. Thanks also here for that response rate. I appreciate that, mate. The chat rate obviously very handy and a huge part of the reason we already have 81 people here, 32 likes, and of course more than 100 views already. So I just want to say a massive thank you for that. And of course, when it comes to being well-informed, that is what we endeavour to create here. My mission, my goal is to make this the most well-informed chat in wrestling, and a large part of that is dealing with false reports, hyperbole, guesswork, and rumours. That's good to hear, Wiggly. I knew you were FTLOW, and I hope you had a great time. Spider-Ball says, Bianca on SmackDown brings me good memories of her time with the role models back in 2020. Hector says, with Triple H now head of creative, do you think the days of Saudi events having aging and out-of-shape legends are done? Because that stuff should have never happened to begin with. Yes. So Saudi Arabia, the kingdom, the crown prince, makes a lot of requests, and since it's him, they are referred to more as demands. Usually he gets his way, and the Triple H, not so much. Sean says, Indy was drafted to Raw, Dexter and Candice stayed on Raw, and Johnny are more than likely, so I don't see Austin Theory moving to SmackDown, and we get the way back. More on that story shortly. Dom says, what's up Tom and chat? Don't forget to hit the like button, or we have 3 words for you. We the ones. Raymond says, do you have any updates on Asuka? Nothing official though, we'll be discussing it. Venom says, is there much news tonight? I've already read the headlines, mostly the Night 2 predictions, the Bray Wyatt writer, congratulations for Carmella, the situation with Omos, the situation with Cody and Roman, Gunther getting married, the CM Punk World Tour, and a few little personal bits that you guys may be very, very interested in. Joey says, do you think Jordan Devlin will get a big push in the mid-card division? Nope. Peter Roberts says, hi Tom. Andrew Zarian says, Roman Reigns will not lose the undisputed WWE Universal Championship until 2030. So I keep hearing from people who are not Andrew Zarian. Joey says, is it true they're planning Cody versus Roman at Mania 40, or is this more false reporting? To be clear, there was never a report that that match was planned. There was a report that that match was on the table. I don't know if you remember this, but everything was on the table. The report basically said, this match might happen. It also might not happen. At no point was a report made stating that match was happening. Wiggly says, how do you rate Ken Shamrock's legacy? Won major titles everywhere, including the top title in TNA and NWA, which is not the WWE title, and is in the Impact Hall of Fame. He's in Wales this weekend. I rate it quite highly, and honestly, I really do feel that given more time and less injury, he'd have made it. Vijit says Roman is losing this year. Wiggly, I don't have a connection per se, but I do have people who are involved in it that I can speak to. Wikipedia says, what's up, Tom? Do you see Cody winning the Money in the Bank case this year and using it to cash in on Roman? More on that later. Peter says, Cody Rhodes will not defeat Roman Reigns again. He hasn't defeated him in the first place. James Stewart says, Money in the Bank single tickets seem difficult to get. Who is going to AEW at Wembley? Mark says, hi Tom, weekly statement about Gunther. He is the next world champion. That would be a blunt and brutal way to immediately launch him. Noob says, someone from Twitter, and I immediately stopped reading. Lucha Libre meme says, I don't ever want to be disrespectful to people's taste in wrestling, but I don't understand why people want to see 56-year-old Goldberg continue. I am yet to enjoy a single Goldberg match, apart from, actually I take that back, apart from the Spot Fest with Brock Lesnar, because at that point it was unique and different. I enjoyed that. John Gillis thinks Edge gets the World Heavyweight Championship and then gets traded back to Raw. Neither of those things are going to happen. Carl says, thoughts on why we're getting free agent situation with stars instead of going to brands. More on that shortly as regards the free agent section. Venom says, I feel like we aren't getting any fresh matches from night one of the draft. It feels like they just taken everyone from Raw and moved them to SmackDown, so we're just going to get the same matches on different shows. Not true. We could not have the possibility of Bayley versus Roman until now. Yes, FDR, I did. Zane Charles says, Ric Flair returning to WWE? No. Richard Smith says, Seth the favourite to win the new world title? No. Dominic Perez says, are they going to retire the Universal title? Maybe. Wiggly says, I saw EO broke character during the show to give a fan a hug and kiss. What a lucky fan. Okay, chill out, mate. Ken Shamrock has been talked about the Hall of Fame inductee, but he just didn't do enough in the WWE. Ghost says, do you believe that the World Title Tournament will be the main focus of Night of Champions, or are all champions going to be featured? It will be the main focus of Night of Champions. That doesn't mean other championships won't be featured. 23 Fresh says, do wrestlers sign NDAs? If they're asked to and choose to, yes. Adam Kieran says, hey Tom, how are you doing? Did Vince or Triple H hire a new writer for Bray Wyatt? More on that shortly. Hogan says it's really easy to report stuff like that though. Per sources, Gunther versus script is a possibility. Yeah, and people do report that. That is literal. How many times have you seen it? You'll learn to spot it, but if you follow things back to the actual source, what you realise pretty quickly is that more often than not, people don't report what they're reported to have reported. This is the issue when you're listening and reading from a third or fourth hand source. Let's say, for example, the report about Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. So, the plan is from the creative team, apparently. That's the first hand source. Then that goes to someone else who's heard it, a second hand source. They then share it with, for example, WrestleVotes, which is a third hand source. WrestleVotes gives that information to Give Me Sports' Louis Dangoor, who is a fourth hand source. He then writes up that information, stating that this match is a possibility. Other people, Ringside News, Sportskeeda, PWInsider, Wrestling Inc., Fightful, will take that and then they'll write up their own reports on it, which is a fifth-hand source. And then someone who reads that, so a sixth-hand source, will tell you what's going to happen. Are we starting to see where things can get lost in translation? Venom says, do you think we get more NXT call-ups tonight, Tom? We will get more NXT call-ups tonight. Peter says, will Cody Rhodes win against Brock Lesnar at WWE Backlash? Yes. Adam says, Seth or Drew for the World Heavyweight title. Blue says, Brock versus Goldberg at Mania is the only Goldberg match I like. Alid is here saying, hey Tom, how are you? Doing very well, Alid. How are you? Peter believes the only person that can beat Roman Reigns is Bobby Lashley. At this point, I think it's going to have to be Logan Paul. Hector says Bayley and Michael Cole each week is going to be amazing. The feud continues. Sean says Baron Corbin got cheered at a live event this weekend when he defeated Rick Boogs. The WWE have paid attention but will not be reacting on it. I did report exclusively a couple of weeks ago that right now there is a creative hiatus and no actual plans for Baron Corbin. Wiggly says, okay, off-topic question, but Tom and others, when people ask you why you like wrestling and say it's fake, etc., how do you respond? We live in a world where everything is fake. Are you, for example, wearing makeup? Do you think you're 6 foot? Etc. Spider-Boss says, do you think WWE need to add more women to book the women's division? Nope, they've got plenty of them, just actually can use them. Venom says, I don't get why not put Cody and Roman on Raw, but they were going to continue the feud after Brock's match with Cody, maybe taking the title at SummerSlam. Me too. Then he says, I'm going to AEW in Wembley and Money in the Bank with my son. Razar says, is it bad that I low-key hate everyone from NXT UK except Imperium and Pete Dunne after the speaking out stuff came out about a lot of the people that worked there? It's a personal choice. I mean, it's up to you whether it's bad or not. Venom says, do you think Johnny stays on Raw? More on that shortly. Joey says, I have a bad feeling we're going to get Omos versus Von Wagner. That matches Vince's wet dream. It's absolutely not. He's not the biggest fan of Von Wagner. Venom says, is Tommaso Ciampa going to be drafted? And if not, why? More on that later. Spider Boss says, Indy Hartwell on Raw. Indy found the way. Sean says, did you see the report from PWInsider that Robert Roode is going to sit out the rest of 2023? No, but I did already report that he's still carrying an injury. He's working backstage and he's not going to be wrestling anytime soon. Wiggly says, how is wrestling any... Okay, that's how you do it. Joey says, Vince loves both of them. Except I just said not quite. Not quite. Peter says, Vince McMahon will not allow Cody Rhodes beating Brock Lesnar at WWE Backlash. Which, again, there is no basis in fact and no source here. That's Peter Roberts' opinion. Hogan says it's especially bad when talking about news of real consequence. There are a lot of folks that need some courses in media literacy. It is amazing in particular how many media personalities and journalists need courses in media literacy. Alex says, do you have any news on what they're going to do with the Raw Women's title? Yes. Ken says, Finlay, the jobber, Baron Corbin won a match about time. Venom says, it makes no sense Cody winning the World Heavyweight title. It's the wrong story. Agreed. Joey says, wasn't there a report before that Vince viewed Von as the next Edge? Not to my knowledge. Don't know if there was a report about it, but that doesn't mean there's an accurate report. Spider-Boss says, AJ Styles on SmackDown surprised me. I thought AJ Styles doesn't want to be on the same brand with Heyman. Something must have changed. And Venom says, do you think Roman keeps the title until Mania? And if not, who do you think could best him? Plenty of people should best him. Hello, Bruce. How you doing? Right. First piece of news is as regards Bray Wyatt. There is a new writer that has been hired to work directly with Bray Wyatt, which will allow Rob Fee to essentially step away from Bray Wyatt and work exclusively on his actual job role, which is essentially long-term storytelling. His work is mostly for essentially making sure that all stories gel together, storyboarding, etc. However, he's been extremely bogged down recently in discussions directly with Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt, as I previously mentioned, pitches a lot of its own work. It then goes to Rob Fee, whose job it is to make it fit the WWE landscape. It would then go to Triple H and would then go to Vince McMahon for the sign-off. So 4 people are involved in writing for one person. Now, 5 people are involved in the writing for one person. A specific, and I do not have a name for this person, one individual specific writer familiar to Bray Wyatt or Wyndham Rotunda has been brought in specifically to work with Bray Wyatt to pitch and lay out the story going forwards. The reason this writer has been hired is because, to put it simply, there is growing frustration backstage with Bray Wyatt's writing, Bray Wyatt's style, and ultimately Bray Wyatt. So this goes a long way to ensuring that long term Bray Wyatt still has a place within the WWE. It also means we will see Alexa Bliss back on TV a lot sooner because at the moment there is still nothing written for her, so they've just started pitching things now. She should be returning relatively soon as something is written up ready for her. As regards Bray Wyatt himself, as I say, we are waiting for him to pitch and write his own storyline. Now there is someone working to write it with him to expedite the process, to hurry up and get him back on TV in a way that suits the WWE product. So that is our first piece of news. I'm going to take this opportunity to check on my announcement tweet and retweet some quote tweets. As you guys know, what I like to do when it comes to my announcement tweet is retweet the quote tweets to try and help the channel grow. I'm also going to get a link to it. Copy link to tweet. I'm just going to drop this in the chat for anyone who would like to share. It's a big help to me and the growth of the channel. So if you're able to, please do consider sharing that piece of Twitter. Adam is asking for clarification on who hired the writer. The writer was hired by WWE proper. It was overseen by Triple H. Thank you for asking. Venom says, do you think Roman keeps the title? I've already read that one. Trekkipedia says, people who say wrestling is fake, I tell them most movies and shows can be considered fake. Adam says, I see Cody just picking up big wins. Not a world title anytime soon, in my opinion. I can see he and Gunter getting into a nice long feud now. FDR says, one could only hope for AJ versus Roman again. I would love that, and you know it. Peter says, hi Tom, I enjoy your YouTube short videos. I appreciate that, Peter. I also quite enjoy producing them. They're easily made content that really goes quite far. These shorts have been growing at a tremendous rate recently, and I've really enjoyed that, as you might expect. Venom says, I got to ask what it is up with this free agent stuff. How does that work in the draft? It's either Raw, SmackDown, or not both. More on that shortly. Spider-Boss says, when was the last good storyline in the women's division of WWE? Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte was alright. Zane is asking about Chase U. Rizal says, did the introduction of the new title change some of the draft picks? I really thought Judgment Day was going to SmackDown. Changed some, but nothing major. Joey says, why does Bray keep pitching these crazy ideas that never work? Can he just work regular feuds? Nope. Venom says, do you think wherever Sammy and KO go, they'll vacate the tag belt for the show they aren't on? I was expecting so, but that's what I expected for the World Heavyweight Championship as well. Marcel says, the story goes is pretty logical. Cody and Roman stay away from each other like Ray and Dom this year, and then build a match for Mania 40 where Cody wins after all the setbacks. How does Cody get the opportunity at WrestleMania? Are you saying he's going to win back-to-back Royal Rumbles? Richard says, will Roxanne Perez get called up? I suspect she might. Daniel says, what happened to AEW Dark Elevation? No idea. Nobody's watching it, but... Venom says, do you think the Usos get drafted to Raw? This is the 5th time I've answered this, and the answer is still no. Dad says, big up Tom. Sorry I'm late. I never get my notification. Well, I appreciate you dropping in and double checking just to be sure. Alex says, do you know if they have legends doing the draft picks again tonight? That is the plan, yes. Sean says, if Raw is the first pick tonight, I think it will be Seth or Brock. Spider-Boss says, Cody Rhodes versus Drew versus Gunter versus Seth for the World Heavyweight title. Book it, WWE. Nope, don't see it, don't want it. Gil says, I might have missed it during the last spoiler warning since I was busy graduating. Subtle brag, I know. But do you know of any internal conversations concerning how to deal with the lawsuit pending against WWE that was announced last week? The only information I have is that this is the 4th lawsuit that Vince McMahon is currently facing, and Endeavour are absolutely fine with the fact that we're getting these lawsuits hitting them. They are not affected in any way, and just are not in any way affected and not in any way expecting to be upset by it. They will pay what needs to be paid and move on with their lives. Venom says, please give me AJ versus Roman again. I've said every bloody stream on the magic of that match again. Alex says, doing shorts is really beneficial. We've been doing a lot recently and it's really helped us. Richard thinks John Cena should be drafted to Raw. John Cena is not listed for the draft. Dad says, where is Ray gone? Ray has a limited day contract, mate. He's got a limited date contract, and that's why he takes some time off. That's why he keeps picking up these random injuries. JJ says the last good women's feud was definitely Becky versus Bianca. Even Becky versus Charlotte was good. Becky versus Charlotte was good, to be fair, because it got personal. Trekkipedia says everyone help Tom out. Share out the stream, like and subscribe, please. I appreciate that, Trekkipedia. If you are looking to support the channel, one of the easiest ways to do it is to make sure to hit like when you join this show. We currently have 97 viewers and 48 likes. Every new like guarantees more views and guarantees the growth of the channel. If you've not yet done so, please also consider subscribing. At the moment, we have 2,404 subscribers and we continue to grow at a very strong pace. So if you're able to, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. Ken says, will WWE be signing any new wrestlers? One day they will definitely sign at least one new wrestler, yes. Sean says, if Endeavour wanted Raw back to 2 hours, will they get their way? No. Richard says, is Shane McMahon going to feud with The Miz again? No. Hogan says, I could see Cody winning the Rumble again. No. Blue says, what draft pick has surprised you the most, Tom? The most? Street Profits. Being picked third on SmackDown. Above Imperium. What the hell? Number of the Devil says, any idea why WWE had to hire a new writer for Bray Wyatt? Number of the Devil, what I'd like you to do is rewind this stream by about 10 minutes and you'll see all of that in detail that you can go into. Eric says, Tom, do you think Zelina has any shot on Saturday? Funny. Spider-Boss says, fans on social media throwing hatred to Trinity, aka Naomi, formerly known as Naomi, only to the signing with Impact is annoying me. People should be happy for Trinity. Well, these are bad people, and I suggest you get them off your timeline. Aled says, a source we all know called Zero News is saying Bianca will face Trish for the title. Remember that. Aled, I want you particularly to remember that, and then on Friday, let me know what the chances of that actually are. BDC, thank you, saying hit the like to get more Tom on the mic. That's fair. That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. We are still, as I've mentioned to you innumerable times, we are still working towards full time. I believe once I reach the level of about 25,000 subscribers, I'll be able to go full time on this YouTube channel and in fact launch other YouTube channels to continue the growth of it. So that's very much my focus at this point in time, providing good content that you guys enjoy that helps us to grow as well. So if you can, please do support with a like, a comment and a subscribe. Zane says, Paul White, aka The Big Show, said in an interview he'll be wrestling at AEW in Wembley. Venom says, if Fox said they wanted SmackDown 3 hours, would they do it? No. Spider Cop says, which roster do you think Seth Rollins will do the best on? Raw. Basically anywhere Cody is. Marcel says, Cody wins Money in the Bank, uses a contract, and says, on Raw, I cash in for a title match at Mania. So, like, in 10 months. Hogan, I try and make it clear one way or the other. The answer is no. I think I made that clear. Dad says, Cody and Brock announced for tonight, Tom. Nothing else as well as the draft. The draft, I'm sure, will be enough to keep us busy. Trekipedia says, Tom, do you see Isla and Alba beating Raquel and Liv for the women's tag titles soon? Nope, they've already got their own. We are indeed live, AMC. How you doing, mate? Eddie says, will it be an 8 or 12-man tournament for the World Heavyweight Championship? I guarantee you it won't be a 12. It's more likely to be a 16. Spider-Boss said a guy known as Jack Romano quoted WrestleVotes saying WWE will do Roman versus Cody at WrestleMania 40, which is funny because WrestleVotes have not reported that Roman versus Cody will happen at WrestleMania 40. Covered this earlier and you know that. Raymond says, I wouldn't mind Indy, Isla and Alba keeping their titles for the short term on the main roster, but provide exposure for NXT and made the titles feel more like a big deal. Ed says, Fox has local news at 10 in most markets and cannot go 3 hours, which is true. That's one of the reasons SmackDown actually finishes ahead of time. Adam says, still no update on a gimmick for Wyatt because there is no gimmick for Wyatt. Aled says, Shinsuke on Miz TV is also announced. Thank you very much, Aled. And Venom says, just so I remember, are you going on holiday after Backlash, Tom? Yes, I am. I will be hosting the Monday show directly after Backlash, so this time next week. After that, I will essentially be taking a 2-week holiday. One is a work trip and one is just a holiday. So 456, how you doing? Says, hello chat, this is a great channel, Tom. Keep on doing what you're doing. Thank you kindly, 456. Very nice of you to say. JJ says, a wrestling blog page, sorry I forgot the source, I'd imagine it's the Twitter page, a wrestling blog, said Fox wanted Becky but management wanted her to stay on Raw. Is that true? No. Sean Ireland says 16-man tournament sounds like a bunch of bangers. Trekipedia is talking to Ed. Dominic says, are you going to have a watch party for Backlash? Yes, we are. And Vegeta, I'm not aware of a tournament already being announced. Spider-Boss says, I hope Roxanne Perez gets drafted to SmackDown. Ghost says, I think it's interesting that Trish Stratus is a part of the draft pool. Perhaps it's only for the feud with Becky, but do you believe Trish will stick around a little while longer after this feud is over? No, but they want her to. Essentially, they hope she's going to have a great match and feel great afterwards. Wiggly, I'm going to go ahead and no comment that on the basis that I don't want people turning up where I'm going. I'm very careful what I put on the internet, and I'm going with my family, so I ain't touching that. No Venom. Richard says that they're going to be a tag team match on Raw tonight. Probably, I mean, it's 3 hours long. Zane says, I don't understand why people have hatred against Impact Wrestling knockout division. They don't. They just pick a side and decide it's a war, and it's not. Hogan says, I tend to ignore these early predictions. Who'd have thought Sami Zayn would be the company's 1 or 2 babyface a year after wrestling Johnny Knoxville? Shoot, who predicted Omos versus Rollins? Even the WWE didn't predict Omos versus Rollins. Eddie says, WON, Wrestling Observer, says WWE go after AEW wrestlers whose contract ends soon. Any names you got? No. Because the WWE cannot contact anyone who currently has an AEW contract. So what essentially Dave Meltzer is saying there is that the WWE are engaged in illegal activity. I'm not going to say that. Ricky Fawn says, hey Tom, glad to see you. Happy Monday. Keep doing what you're doing. Love the channel. Appreciate that, Ricky. No, Ken, Lita is not a part of the draft. And Eric says, who do you think will get the NXT title? Whoever already has it. Sean says, Alexa Bliss and The Miz will be on tonight's episode of That's My Jam with Jimmy Fallon. I think this could take some viewers from Raw tonight. Yeah, but it could also be a lead-in. Wiggly says, when is Vince leaving? The day he dies. Which I've told you for a long time, and I will stand by it till the end of time. Carmella has announced that she is pregnant with her child with Corey Graves. This flies in the face of people who genuinely reported that Carmella was being punished for something. No. She announced her pregnancy to the WWE, said she wanted time off to essentially go away and see what happened, given her history. And she has now announced that she's having at least what is so far a successful pregnancy. Massive congratulations to her and best of luck going forwards. She is in no way being punished. At no point was she being punished. Anyone who reported that was not just guessing, they were malicious. Omos is currently listed as a WWE free agent. Essentially, the intention here is to make it so that at the end of the draft, there is still a possibility of Raw and SmackDown picking up individuals. They don't want Omos to pop up anywhere because essentially it leaves open the possibility that on his way out or on his way in, he could pick up a win over Seth. Right now, nobody particularly believes that Seth Rollins is going to lose to Omos, even though I personally did predict Omos getting a win on this one. And they are trying to create confusion and expectation there. Seth Rollins looks likely to be drafted straight back to Raw. Omos, I suspect, will be staying there with him. However, you may note that MVP is also a free agent at the moment. They will undoubtedly be drafted together. Chances are after Backlash he'll take a couple of weeks off and then reappear when it is time for more Omos. Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns have been separated, which ends the story potentially. The WWE are exploring a number of different alternative routes to try and essentially confuse the viewership and make you think that this match is not going to happen again. Cody Rhodes was expected to win Money in the Bank this time last year. He was going to be winning until becoming injured when Austin Theory would pick up the win. I believe that was July last year. At this point in time, they are discussing their options, but Cody Rhodes right now, backstage in the creative team, is one of the favourites to be winning Money in the Bank. If he does so against Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, is still very much a possibility. As regards the possibility of a match at WrestleMania 40, that is a long, long way away. And essentially anything that Cody Rhodes does in the meantime, will just be wasting time until we get to that, point. Gunther has gotten married. Congratulations, Gunther. He looked very, very good in his suit, and the man knows how to dance. Little bombardment of news there. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Eddie says, I'm not like AEW, but 280,000 on Rampage, why not cancel the show? It may actually be still very much worth running if they get the money for it. Spider-Boss says, who would have thought that after losing against Johnny Knoxville, Sami Zayn would be tag team champion and one of the top baby faces in WWE? Vince definitely got that one right. Mark says, hey Tom, I haven't got any questions, just want to say you're doing amazing work. Keep up the great work. Thank you, mate. Trekipedia hopes Sol Ruka will be okay. Richard Smith says, I'm starting to believe Dave Meltzer just tweet that AEW is talking to AEW wrestlers just to wind up Tony Khan. There was no tweet. It wasn't a tweet. This tells me that you've not actually gone to the source itself. Ken says, any more on the Liv Morgan push after the video you made on it? No, but I feel, Ken, that I've given you more information than anyone else has. So at the moment, no further information. Zayn, I'm not even going to dignify that with a response. The rule here as regards anyone who claims to be always right is they're not. No one is always right. It's not possible. Also, you say, I'm always right when it comes to wrestling opinions. To me, that sounds like a dickhead. Anyone who says, I'm always right, my opinion's always right, they're a bad person. That's how I see it. Ori's how you doing? Says, afternoon, Mr. Colohue. Hugh. Been a little while, mate. Great to see you. Go a little further, Ed, please. Go a little further with that one. Joey says, is LA Knight's name still in discussion to win the Money in the Bank? I don't believe it ever was in discussion. They are talking now about a push for him, though, so it might get into discussion. Spiderball says, somehow I want the winner of the Women's Money in the Bank to have a failed cash-in. It would be about time on that one. Eddie says, Lashley, AJ Styles, Edge and maybe Bray will be fresh feuds for Roman and will be good ones. There's also plenty of people in addition to bring in. Edge, however, would not be a fresh feud for Roman. Not even slightly. Adam says, has Vince been high on Braun Strowman since he returned? I don't know. Not a clue on that one. Trekipedia says, did Braun actually get a concussion or was it just a rumour? At this point in time, you'll note that I didn't actually report it and confirm it because I have not had that confirmed independently. I saw the report. I spoke about it on Shorts. I made sure to quote who I got the information from because at the moment it seems like it was just a rumour. Jaden says hi everyone and hi everybody, which are both two ways of saying the same thing, but I appreciate the double down there, Jaden. You committed. I like that. Venom says, do you think we'll finally get Volta versus Jordan Devlin? Probably. FDR says, is everything on the table, Tom? Everything is on the table and you know it. Eric says, I'm sorry, Tom, I meant the NXT Women's title. Well, we already have an NXT Women's Champion and I don't see any reason to take the championship away from her. Ken says, CM Punk was welcomed backstage at Impact Wrestling, took pictures with wrestlers. And in fact, that is my next piece on the CM Punk World Tour. Because guys, there's a CM Punk World Tour happening at the moment. Essentially because once again, Impact was not too far away from his route. CM Punk, having already popped up at WWE, decided to pop up at Impact as well. Now, Impact do have a working relationship with AEW, so this isn't something that's going to harm his standing in the company where he actually works. But certainly, it did wind some people up. As regards his appearance at WWE back in AEW. Oops, sorry guys, I've lost track a little bit. Spiderball says, I'd love to see Becky Lynch in a rivalry with a young talent after a rivalry with Trish is done. Becky Lynch does rotate back and forth. She did good work with Liv Morgan, for example. She did good work with Piper Niven as well. Venom says, do you think they will give Drew the World Heavyweight title as a way to make him stay? Drew McIntyre is locked in for just under a year. We don't need to worry about trying to force him to stay yet. I want to be clear here. And this may be the only time you actually hear this from anyone, but I want to be really clear. To my knowledge, Drew McIntyre does not want to leave the WWE. I don't get why everybody suddenly thinks he's actually trying desperately to get out. I don't think he's trying to kick the doors down and run out the back door. That's not happening. So I don't know where this idea came from, but it's wrong. FDR's excited for Gunter versus Cody. Steve Englund says, there's nothing wrong with being right. Am I right? What's the deal with WWE betting in the States? There's still a hold-up, or is the idea dead? The idea was reported a little more early than they were hoping for. It is still in discussions. Brian Becker says, JD from NY's comments about Alexa are disgusting. Yes, they are, which further reinforces my opinion. And I don't know if you realise this, but my opinion on JD from NY is always right. It says, Fightful reported WWE have 30 draft picks happening tonight. How many of them do you expect to be from NXT? The last ones. Ross says, people need to realise there's no wrestling war. Look at the support Nikki Cross has received across promotions on the completion of dissertation. People are literally married in different companies. So, the concept of the war was something that AEW encouraged because it meant people would essentially pick their side. And with AEW fans picking their side, what it essentially meant is that they were pretty much guaranteed viewership. It really helped them in that first year. You may notice the talk of a war has since gone quiet. Thank you very much, Daz, for renewing for a 4th month your channel supportership. Thank you for being a member. We are doing really well for channel members at the moment. I did see, of course, FIFA Connor really helping us out on Friday night SmackDown's watch along with 5 gifted subs as well. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Daz. Thank you to all of you who are members as well. It does make a really big difference to the growth of the channel. YouTube does favour channels with more members, to my knowledge, and it does essentially guarantee me a little bit of an income, which I can then use to pay my bills. So, huge thanks to all of you for that, and thank you, Daz. Sean says, with the injury, do you think Shawn Michaels will have Indy forfeit the title since she's being called up? That would make sense, yes. Ed says, Indy is injured and now on Raw. There's a both decent reason to have her drop the title, in my opinion. I don't think they'll be putting her in the match per se, but certainly I think taking the championship away is a good call. And I do think on Tuesday, the tag team championships will be retained, the NXT tag team championships, and then essentially dropped on the way out. Hector says maybe Cody can win Money in the Bank and have a failed cash-in, then have him win Elimination Chamber to get a shot at Roman. I don't really want a shot at Roman from Cody. I'm disappointed with how things ended. I'd rather have someone else now, but there aren't really any other people. Dad says, is the new AEW game out yet or no? Nope. Wiggly says, Nia returned to action. She's posting pictures of her incredible weight loss. She is still looking to wrestle, but not many people can afford her. Ghost says, based on the picture that Indy Hartwell posted of her ankle, I'm just going to assume she's going to start rather slowly on the main roster. I suspect Indy's future involves being part of a faction. Now, I don't know what way you have to look for this faction, but I suspect it'll be part of a faction. Wiggly, I have no idea whether AEW will do meet and greets. It's many months away, and I don't have anyone who can really tell me that. Spider-Boss says, do you think Austin Theory moves to SmackDown? More on that shortly. Trekkopedia says, with Rampage, could be getting a boost from DVR numbers, so they could be liking those. Hogan says, the only thing I've seen is LA Knight's name listed as a favourite to win Money in the Bank on one betting site, but there's more to setting betting odds than rumours info. Yeah, a lot of the betting sites, they take it based on how much people are willing to put money on certain wrestlers. So when a report comes out saying, oh, LA Knight's the favourite, suddenly a lot of money goes on LA Knight. A lot of people wasted money, and wasted a lot of money, betting that The Rock would win the Royal Rumble based on reporting from Dave Meltzer. Shortly afterwards, Dave Meltzer then said, yeah, that's not going to happen. Stick to the Tom Colohue channel. I always told you it wasn't going to happen. Zane says, if you could book WWE's Women's Wrestling versus Impact, who would you book? I would not. WWE gets no benefit from that. Only Impact benefits from that, so it will never happen. JJ says, before Becky goes full part-time, I hope we still get her versus Rhea. FDR says, don't forget to hit those likes. Thank you kindly. Callie saying, as regards the channel membership, think mine is on a monthly renewal. I do believe that they are, but you should have an option to essentially announce your renewal. Where essentially you reach a milestone and you announce that milestone. And I say thank you for that milestone because it's fantastic and I'm really appreciative of it. Ed says, hit the like or get these hands. Hogan says, given Shawn Michaels' desire to rehash all of his old storylines. May. Eddie says, my best for NXT stars who will be drafted tonight are Braun, Cora, Pretty Deadly, Waller, Roxanne, Ilya. Richard says, was Paige forced to vacate the NXT Championship? I can't remember. I wasn't watching at the time. Venom says, how serious is Indy's injury? It will take some time to heal, but she should be back in action relatively soon. Spider-Boss says, sometimes bad guys win. I wonder why people are still complaining about Roman's WrestleMania victory, because they are entitled to their opinion. Zane says, there isn't anyone on the roster they've built up to challenge Roman for such a historic milestone. Why would you waste someone like AJ Styles? Because ultimately you still have to have wrestling matches in wrestling shows. Thank you very much, FDR, for announcing that you are also hitting a milestone, 6 months as channel supporter. And indeed, FDR, that is exactly how it works. You know, that's a little gold emblem as well there. That's a little gold emblem you can enjoy. Venom says, I want to see Johnny versus Braun on Raw in a no DQ match, and Johnny hit the one final beat finisher to break her onto a steel chair. You're not going to see that. Dad says, is there any way I could send a poster to anyone, Tom? Depends what you mean by anyone. I'd imagine you find out their address and then you send it to them with their consent. Richard says, really hope Indy and Candice LeRae become a tag team. Simple reason, I'm a massive fan of Candice. Met her a few times, sweetest person on earth. Thank you, Callie, for announcing the 2nd month of your channel membership. Thank you all of you as channel supporters, as channel members, and etc. There is no differentiation at this current time between channel supporter and channel member. You will get the same benefits from either one. I am going to start doing member-only streams once a month at some point soon, once I reach a certain milestone. I'm not telling you what that milestone is, but I'm reaching it relatively soon. Just to basically ensure that you'll actually have access to them and you can ask whatever questions you would like about my entire process. They will be members only. There are some members only videos, and at some point I may be separating them into like channel supporter and channel member, but at the moment there is no particular reason beyond wanting to support at a greater financial level to go from supporter to member. Adam says, is Triple H's future uncertain as head of creative, or is Vince happy with his work? That is an impossible to answer question. Ghost says, the way I see it is a great time for a certain reunion, regardless of the way Indy is introduced on the main roster. Yeah, I think we should all really think about the way Indy returns to the main roster, where she's briefly appeared at times. Spider-Boss says how WWE can make the women's tag team titles relevant again by booking them into matches and storylines that are interesting. Wiggly says, Tom, how do you rate Sid, Lex Luger, and Vader? Like that. Peter is also announcing a milestone. Peter Englefield has been a member for 5 months. Thank you, all of you. I love it when you drop these in because I want to be able to say thank you to all of you. I want to show my appreciation and really remind everyone that I'm here because of you, because of your support. This channel grows based on things like this. Also, by the way, announcing your milestone acts as a like in the YouTube algorithm, to my knowledge. So essentially, if you've already hit like and you can announce a milestone, announce that milestone because it will bring more people in. We currently have 108 people viewing and 59 likes. If you're able to, please remember to hit like. Hector says, any chance we see Meiko Satomura wrestle at least once on a main roster, potentially on a big PLE? Unfortunately, at the moment, no. Meiko right now is still back in the UK. Sean says, Seth has history with Roman. Remember, Roman has never beaten Seth in a title match, and in many ways, Seth is the only person close. See, Steve says, does Dave Meltzer work for Vegas? Sounds like one of those smoke screens to me. Wikipedia talking to someone else. FDR says, I like that it matches my profile pic. It does. It actually really matches up well. Wikipedia says, I swear the NXT parking lot in storyline is more dangerous than the Bermuda Triangle, and we do need to revisit that a few more times, I feel. Steve says, which brand has won the draft so far? Sure, SmackDown got Roman and Edge, but Raw got Cody, and a lot of good prospects and diversity. So, this is exactly what happened last time. Exactly what happened last time. So, the last draft, I was told that SmackDown will win the SmackDown night of the draft, and Raw will win the Raw night of the draft. I believe that is consistent. Brad Becker has been a member for 1 month. Thank you very much for announcing that milestone, mate. Appreciate it. Ed says there is no more dangerous place in the world than the NXT parking lot. Sean says, I noticed you didn't do a short this morning, Tom. No wrestling rumours? Nah, I slept. I just slept. Because it's been bank holiday weekend, I've been out and about, I've been getting a lot of things done, and I've been parenting. So I slept. Dog says, happy Monday Night Raw and Draft Night, and to you as well. Wiggly says, how do you rate their legacies? Not particularly well. Spider-Boss says, where do you see Charlotte Flair landing, Raw or SmackDown? More on that very shortly. Venom says, why isn't Tommaso Ciampa part of the draft? Because he's injured. H-Car says, hi Tom, any news about Alexa Bliss? H-Car, what I'd like you to do is pop back to 15 minutes into the stream where I talk about a new writer for Bray Wyatt and how that affects Alexa Bliss. Ken Thompson says, Louis Dangor said, Triple H planning for AJ Styles versus Roman at Night of Champions are wide of the mark, with reports stating that AJ is not even close to challenging for the WWE Universal title. So to be clear, has he rumour killed a rumour that doesn't exist? I'm not aware of anything saying that AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns will be competing at Night of Champions. I've not heard anything about this. Not a thing. So, am I missing something here? Am I in the wrong to say that? Because that, to me, and help me out here, please do, guys. That sounds to me like a rumour killer on a rumour that doesn't exist. So, a killer? Venom says, I don't see Dragunov being called up yet because he's starting a feud with Dijak. Maybe Dijak will be called up again. Leon says, hopefully when Bray comes back, he actually wrestles this time. The only match he's had since returning was a pitch black match, which I personally hated. It's been more than 6 months. He needs to do more than that. Girl says, even though I know you don't watch AEW, since it's been a hot topic, what's your opinion of the new Britt Baker shirt? I don't hate it. Get over however you can get over. Leon says, are we getting any more championship designs? Not sure on this one. As regards a swap to the champions titles, if it happens, more on that very shortly. Hogan says, given the tease of Nikki Cross and Candice, there's a way to make a sanity return make sense. There is always a way. And in fact, the way might be the last place you look. Or the first. Depends, whichever way you look. Mike says, other than Survivor Series, are there any other PLEs announced for after SummerSlam, the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, etc.? Zane says, JD from NY reported Asuka requested her WWE release. She didn't. As Vegeta points out quite rightly, Asuka actually killed that rumour herself. So that's a first-hand source. Now, Zane, I understand you're asking a lot of questions about one person, and I'm happy for you to do that. Very happy for you to do that, in fact. Because, as I say, the rule in this this here chat, this here community is remember. So, we've just given you information. Thank you very much, Vegeta. Which really helps to make that clear. Now, Sean is disputing that was from JD from NY. And this is why it's important to remember this stuff. And this is why it's important to have so many different people coming in and sharing information so that we know exactly what is going where. It says, how dare you sleep in? How dare you? Oh, I'm so sorry. Venom says, apart from when NXT got involved, every time we've had Raw versus SmackDown at Survivor Series, Raw has destroyed SmackDown. They're not doing the blue brand any favors. FDR has clarified AJ versus Roman was reported by Zero News. Okay, but like, who of credibility actually reported this? Like, do we just believe everything we read on Twitter now? Is that where we are? I don't want that to be where we are, but is that where we are? Because if so, the whole thing's kind of pointless. Like, why am I even bothering? Why am I bothering with any of this if we're just going to believe whatever the hell comes out and act like that actually makes sense? This upsets me. This genuinely upsets me. That I work really hard, and you guys know I work really hard, to deliver quality news, provable news, to have a great record at the end of it. And then you get channels like Zero News, which get, what, 20% of what they say right? And yet they have more of a following than I do. They do. It is a fact. They do. Yeah, it's upsetting. Spider-Boss says, if Rhea gets drafted to SmackDown, I hope we get Rhea versus Bayley at Night of Champions. I would love that. Venom says, don't care when, but just give me an AJ Styles versus Roman before Roman drops the title. Sean says, your thoughts on Apollo Crews being called back up? I loved his reaction to being called back to where he was before. Hell no, Wiggly. I'm not watching a coronation. I could not care less about the royal family. Ghost says, the way is right under all of our noses. Let's see if anyone else can find their way. I feel like we're talking about the Mandalorian now. Fair, Michael. Appreciate that. We did say earlier on that he was talking about opinions. And that does definitely fly in the face of what has been said by Zayn a little earlier. So I appreciate you coming in and saying that, because I know you are very careful with what you say. Dad says, do you think Seth will be first pick tonight, Tom? More on that shortly. Hogan says, maybe I should have looked at the WWE list of events earlier. If I did, SmackDown being in Toronto on August 18th may have given away Edge's destination. Spider-Boss says, Mercedes money clapping back the rumours from Meltzer's made my days. James Jones says he's one that loves to stir negativity and wants talent for his favourite promotion. Not sure what you're referencing there, mate. Spider-Boss says, I hope we see Bad Bunny versus Dominic Mysterio at SummerSlam 2023. Brad says, I go through numerous sites to find news, and this is good. This is a very good thing. As wrestling journalists, we should be confirming each other's news. Because the idea that, oh, you stole my story, that's not how news works. Nobody with any media literacy would ever accuse someone else of stealing their story. And yet we have these pay sites where it's like, you need to credit me because that was on my paywall. News is free information, or at least it should be. I believe in a free press. Get the facts out there. That's surely more important than you trying to push for one more person to give your paywall a chance. If you're dedicated to informing people, you wouldn't be chasing people down saying, they never credit us, they never credit us. You'd just be glad the information's out there. Thank you, Vegeta. James says, Tom, you keep working, you're legit, and very few are. Please don't stop. I don't intend to. I don't intend to. Danny B-Side said, loads of fans watching you with me in Orlando. Oh, lovely to hear, Danny. Lovely to hear. Backwards doesn't have Twitter, which is probably a good shout, let's be fair. FDR says, so many people still just believe whatever channels like Zero News report. I don't get it either. Ray says, do you think Wrestling Days is a good YouTuber? Yes, I do. I have learned a lot from watching Wrestling Days' YouTube channel, the way that he works his SEO, the way that his watch-alongs work, and I do highly recommend his work. And I know that he has highly recommended my work in the past as well. I have a lot of time for him and give him a lot of credit for the work he's done. Venom says, I don't think NXT really did anything for Apollo Crews. I agree. Billy says, I don't see Tom on bended knee pledging loyalty to the king. I pledge allegiance. No, I don't. Etc. Right. So, what have we got? James says, I don't know today's different, and ones like Dave Meltzer are doing the same thing he did to WCW. Mark says, if you say something about certain sites, they will go in your DMs and abuse you. Mark has history of this. I know that quite a few of you in here have attempted to get me credited and my work credited and share what we do here. And you've received a lot of abuse and bullying for it. From big names in wrestling media. It's very easy to see who's really not worth our time, isn't it? Ed says, give paywalls no chance. Rosal says, which match is main event in Backlash? I think it should be Bad Bunny. I believe it's going to be Brock Lesnar versus Cody. Peter believes in free penguins, which is a nice chocolate that I very much enjoy. But not free penguins as in let the penguin out. He's a problem. Batman caught him for a reason. I still believe Danny DeVito was the best penguin. Hogan says, given their extensive history together, Cruz teaming up with Tozawa may be a good way to use both and bolster the tag division, which I like the idea of. Venom says, do you think Jordan Devlin could join Judgment Day? His character seems to suit it and he is Finn's student. I've interviewed Jordan Devlin before. He does not really care about the endorsement of Finn Balor, and he said those words to me. James says, Tom doesn't feed off the fake news. I don't. I only report news that I can confirm. Some of the shorts are based on what news is out there, and I can't exactly sit here and say I double check factually and have the time to fact check every single one of them. But with the shorts, I make clear, here is my source, here is where this information is coming from. Spoiler warning is where the exclusive stuff comes out. Right, okay, so at this point, I'm going to go through every single person who is eligible to be drafted tonight with where I expect them to go, okay? Every single person who is eligible, I'm going through the list on WWE.com and saying where I expect them to go. This should answer a lot of questions. I'll start by talking about the title swap. Yes, it looks like there's going to be a title swap. The fact that Bianca Belair and Io Sky, her competitor at Backlash, have gone to SmackDown has made it very, very clear. I've reached out and it does sure sound like Bianca Belair is going to be our SmackDown Women's Champion this time next week. It will be a title exchange. It will not be done in the same way as the Charlotte Flair Becky Lynch title swap happened in order to guarantee that we don't have the same result. It will be based on the idea that Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley is still being planned as a huge match for the future, quite possibly for next year's WrestleMania. This will continue to build towards it. Akira Tozawa, I unfortunately expect to be a free agent. Akira Tozawa, a free agent who is not drafted. Alpha Academy, I expect to go to SmackDown to bolster the tag division there. Chad Gable's a very comfortable talker, and we do have the Street Profits there already, plus a number of others, such as, for example, the Viking Raiders. Even though they're free agents, I find it likely they're going to SmackDown. Braun Strowman and Ricochet as well, which I'll mention later. Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo, I expect to be Raw. Asuka, I expect to be Raw. Austin Theory, I have going to SmackDown. This essentially means that we don't have to do a title swap or have him lose the championship, though I still think he may well lose a championship during Backlash. Baron Corbin, I have going to Raw. He's currently still on SmackDown, but a move to Raw is highly needed to really freshen up what's going on there. Yes, he's been popping up on Raw, but to my knowledge, he's still technically a SmackDown superstar. Or have I forgotten one? Yeah, I think he's still technically SmackDown. Braun Strowman and Ricochet, I expect to stay on SmackDown. Bobby Lashley versus Braun Strowman has been discussed, as well as the possibility of Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman, not with any intention of actually having Braun Strowman pick up a win, but just as having someone to compete with. Ricochet, meanwhile, could add a lot to the overall division, particularly a Ricochet versus Austin Theory feud, which is being discussed as well. Brock Lesnar stays on Raw, though he'll very rarely be there. I think he'll be treated more like a free agent anyway. Bronson Reed also stays on Raw, which will very much tell you where we're going with the United States Championship match at Backlash. Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, I have staying on Raw. The Hurt Business without Bobby Lashley, I expect to be reuniting. Charlotte Flair going to SmackDown, where we already have Bayley and we already have, for example, Bianca Belair. So Bianca Belair versus Charlotte Flair is something that they want to make happen. So Charlotte Flair is a talent that Fox have been asking for and made it very clear they want to keep. Dana Brooke, I unfortunately expect to be a free agent. Elias, I unfortunately expect to be a free agent. Emma will stay on SmackDown. Johnny Gargano will stay on Raw. That just seems like the right way to do this. Judgment Day. And here's a thing. Because Judgment Day are Finn Balor, Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio. Rhea Ripley is not being factored in as a member of Judgment Day. I believe this is so that you think they'll be split up. I don't think they will be. Judgment Day for me, stay on Raw. This does create opportunities, for example, for Damian Priest versus Volta, which I think we're going to get behind. Karrion Kross stays on SmackDown. He will have his match on SmackDown this upcoming week against Shinsuke Nakamura, take the loss, and then be essentially a jobber on SmackDown as he already is. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to Monday Night Raw, taking the championships with them. LA Knight to go to Monday Night Raw. That is a change for me. LA Knight to Monday Night Raw, where he can work his way up the roster. LA Knight versus Dominic Mysterio has been mentioned as a potential for a face turn for LA Knight and to essentially stop arguing with the audiences who are clearly cheering him. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez I have moving to Raw. They will be keeping the tag team championships, I believe, but a move to Raw opens up a lot of possibilities. For example, Raquel Rodriguez versus Becky Lynch. Nikki Cross going to SmackDown. They're not really sure what to do with her, but they want a refresh of her. The same is true of Piper Niven. I see her going to SmackDown. She'll still have the possibility of working with names such as Bianca Belair, but there's also plenty more on the SmackDown side. Charlotte Flair, for example, has expressed interest in working with Piper Niven. Rhea Ripley, I expect to go to Raw. Rick Boogs will stay on Monday Night Raw and will likely reunite with Shinsuke Nakamura, at least in a managerial possibility. Riddick Moss will be staying on SmackDown. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler I have staying on SmackDown. This once again opens new opportunities. For example, Shayna Baszler versus Nikki Cross, Ronda Rousey versus Bayley. So it opens up quite a few new possibilities. Seth Rollins to Monday Night Raw. Shotzi staying on SmackDown. Tamina staying on Raw. Tegan Nox moving to Raw. The Brawling Brutes, that being Sheamus, Ridge Holland and Butch, are all eligible. Drew McIntyre and Volta have already moved to Raw. I believe they will stay on SmackDown. Sheamus versus Roman Reigns has still not been fully tapped, and I believe Brawling Brutes versus OC is one we can look forward to. The LWO as well, I see staying on SmackDown. The New Day I have moving to Raw, creating new potential tag team feuds, and essentially just because they're not really needed at this point on SmackDown. That also means that Big E, who is looking at a return, not immediately, I'll say that straight off, but who is looking at return options at the moment, would be added to their faction on Raw. New Day would stay as a free-man faction. Big E would essentially be protected in that environment. The Usos staying on SmackDown. Trish Stratus I have on Raw, where she will continue her feud with Becky Lynch, and Xia Li on Raw. The remaining section here states select NXT superstars. Bron Breakker I see going to SmackDown to work with, for example, Sheamus. After that, it gets a little more difficult. Roxanne Perez I have going to SmackDown, working with Charlotte Flairs, with Baileys, etc. When it comes to Monday Night Raw and NXT, there are people slightly lower down the card who will be getting opportunities, for example, Grayson Waller. So, those are my predictions. My predictions for who will be moving to what brand in the WWE Draft that remains. So, Michael says, I never really understood paywalls because the purpose of the press is to provide transparency. That's exactly why I'm so confused by the concept. But news is profitable now, and so it doesn't have to be honest anymore. Sean says, I think Viking Raiders went to Raw. I believe they're free agents at the moment. Spider-Boss says, can WWE just have Bianca vacate the Raw Women's title after Backlash instead of having a title exchange? They could, but they're not going to. Wiggly says, will the free agents be released from WWE? No, they'll just be picked up later. Ghost says, LA Knight would honestly work great in a program against The Miz if they end up on the same brand. In this instance, they would. The Miz and LA Knight both on Raw. Sean says, what brand do you see Ezekiel going to? I think he'll get a big opportunity. I think it'll be SmackDown for Ezekiel, but Elias, not so much. Personally, I just want for him to give us a tag team and do it right. Trekkie PD says, I'm starting to think NXT Europe is stuck in limbo. It's not. There's just a lot to do, and they've not really started much yet. So there's a lot to do. It's not stuck in limbo. It's just going to take time. James says, Tom's a real one. Thank you, James. Danny says, keep Finn on Raw and put Karen Cross with the Judgment Day. Austin says, will we get AOP? Unlikely at this point in time. Ken just dropped a drink over his laptop keyboard. Eric says, I wanted Otis with the Triple M. I still think there's potential in that, but I personally see... actually, that's a good point. Chad Gable I can definitely see going to SmackDown, but hey, Otis, they could separate them. Ross says, Bayley going to SmackDown to argue more with Cole will be good fun. And James says, Tom, do you know anything on Bray? My latest report on Bray Wyatt is 15 minutes into this video. So James, best thing you can do, pop back to about 15 minutes into the video, start watching there, and you'll hear my report about Bray Wyatt and what is going on with him at the moment. I don't really comment on who's best dressed, Zane. That's not really a thing I do. Razal says, I think Rhea will be the number one pick for night 2. Me too, and I think she thoroughly deserves it. A lot of excitement about LA Knight. Hogan says, I'm sure Piper wouldn't mind getting together with Fire and Dawn. We'll see. We'll see. Ray says, is Emma married to Madcap Moss? She is not. Trekkie PD says, I think they're going to change Pete Dunne back to Pete Dunne and retire the Butch name. There is talk about that, but we'll see what actually happens with it. Alex says, I think the Usos go to Raw. I do not. Mark says, where's Pretty Deadly in NXT at the moment? Gomar says, I see Braun going to Raw. Braun Breaker versus Drew McIntyre would certainly be a lot of fun. Venom says, do you think this will be a firm brand split? For a time, yes. Ori says, any news on the New Day? Haven't heard anything about them in a bit, and Big E's injury. I've been reporting the best I can as regards Big E. I think I clarified that as best I could in that wrap up there. The recent reports are that Big E's injury is mostly recovered, but he does have to go through quite a lot of physio for it. So he's feeling good. He wants to return. There are creative plans being considered at this point in time. Spider-Ball says, why does WWE do a title exchange instead of having one of the women's champions lose the title? Because they're called the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships. They're literally named after the show. Stuart says, Raiders got drafted to Raw and SmackDown Lowdown over the weekend. Thank you for the clarification, Stuart. Venom says, do you think Pretty Deadly got called up? Maybe. Then says, would LA Knight and The Miz make a good tag team? I think they'd make an unnecessary tag team, but they'd certainly be very good in the talking stakes. Adam said, this is what I'm saying. Why would Vince not want Bray? Okay, you don't know what Vince wants. Dark Society says, hey Tom, sorry I'm late. No worries, Dark Society. No worries, James. Alex says, who gets the first pick, Raw or SmackDown? Tonight it looks like Raw will get the first pick. Steve says, dropping in to say hello, Mr. Colohue. Hope you're doing well, bud. Doing very well, thank you, Steve, and I hope you are as well. Let me know how your channel is doing. Let us know right here. Literally, just drop it in. Let us know right here how your channel's doing. Sean says, if Alexa is eligible to be drafted, would you have her going to SmackDown? She's not eligible to be drafted. Venom says, do you think Jordan Devlin will get his old name back? Nope. Hogan says, unfortunately, Pretty Deadly can't be called up considering they've been tossed in a lake, which is fair comment. Steve says, have you enjoyed the way the draft has played out so far? Yes, with one exception. One major exception. Why were the Street Profits picked above Imperium? Why would anyone do that? It does not make sense. Raymond says, do you see brand-specific pay-per-views happening? No, I do not. Darnell, how you doing, mate? Welcome. Eric says, what brand do you see injured going to, i.e. Randy, Big E? None. They will not go to any brand because they are injured. Dark Society says, do you think Bianca and Rhea will swap titles? Yes. Mike says, hope Big E returns to face Gunter before he drops the title. That would be amazing. That'd be amazing. And Bismo says, even Vince doesn't know what Vince wants. He changes his mind like the flip of a coin. 2 things left to talk about. We currently have 65 likes and 108 people watching. So if you're not hit like yet, please do consider it. I'd be very grateful of it. We've also, during the show, gained another 4 subscribers up to 2,408. 2 more will get us up to 2,410 in our mission to 2,500. So if you've not yet done so, please do consider it. 2 pieces of news. Firstly, we will be live on the Tom Colohue channels tomorrow. We are recording, once again, and I do believe I fixed the audio issue, a live episode of Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure with myself and PWTorch's Nick Barbati. What we record will then go up on Saturday on PWTorch itself in their live daily cast. So if you want to shout out to the daily cast on PWTorch, make sure to be there when I can read out your questions. It will not be the usual Q&A session because unfortunately it's just... there's 2 people and it takes a little more time to answer questions, but please do bring your questions in. We'll answer as many of them as we can. That is tomorrow, usual spoiler warning time, 10 p.m. UK time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or just Eastern Time, whatever it may be. Darnell says, will Ezekiel be in the draft? He should be. He is my hero. HCar says, any news about Robert Roode and Randy Orton? I've already reported everything I can about Robert Roode and Randy Orton, and other people are now starting to report the same news. Razar says, some people think WWE will change the names of the women's titles. I don't see it, mainly because of Charlotte's record. It'd be weird for it to be a 16-time champ with titles that don't exist anymore. FDR says, hit the likes, hit the likes, hit the likes. Steve says, thank you, bud. Channel has had a real boost this last week with the draft. Hopefully can carry that momentum into Backlash. Hopefully so, mate. Hopefully so. Love, Carmelo does get drafted. I'd like to see him feud with Austin Theory. And Steve says, always great to see how well your channel's going, bud. You deserve all the success you're getting and more. Thank you very kindly for that. A lot of people have been asking for something in particular. So this is going to be out of nowhere and you guys are not expecting it. I'm going all in. So it is a friend's birthday around that time. And he's asked if I want to go to All In. And I do. Because why the hell not? I don't cover AEW wrestling on this channel, so it's not like it's a work night. It's a bank holiday weekend, so I can go down on the Saturday, return in time on the Monday. I could still do shorts. I could still do all of that. So, I'm going to All In. I will let you know what happens with the tickets, as it were. I'm not going to tell you where I am, because I just want to watch the show, as it were. But... as I'll be there, and I'll be in the area, if anyone else is going to All In, we could potentially make something happen. Eric, I will definitely vlog it. You'll get a lot of shorts of direct clips, I tell you that. You'll get a lot of shorts of direct clips, I tell you. FDR says, holy schmoseby. Allied is also going to All In. Darnell says, oh, really? Trekipedia says, have fun at All In. Tom, thank you, Trekipedia. Even if you're not going to All In, I will be there from the Saturday to the Monday. So the Saturday night is wide open. Saturday night's wide open if you guys want me to organise some sort of meetup. So let me know what you'd like to do and we can make it happen. Okay? Let me know what you'd like to do. And if you're in the UK, we can make it happen. Or if you're travelling in for All In, we can make it happen. HCar, yes, I have. I've spoken about Carmella's pregnancy a little earlier. Ella says, me and one of the other guys on the channel is going. Lauren, how you doing? Says, just checking in on you. Don't go too crazy over the draft. Well, we've gone over by 15 minutes, so that's quite telling. And I'm actually going to an AEW pay-per-view. So, yes, Venom, All In the pay-per-view is the last weekend of August. So that's going to be spoiler warning. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who said hi, everyone who's provided the 514 views, everyone who's provided the 68 likes, and every one of the 4 new subscribers as well. Thank you, all of you, for joining us. We will be live tomorrow for a live episode of Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure. So if you have any questions for PWTorch's Nick Barbati, please be sure to drop in and check them out. In the meantime, thank you everyone for joining me. I've been Tom Colohue. You have been fantastic, and I will see you all very soon.